Hana wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked at her sample container. It was almost full. She had been working for 16 hours straight, collecting plant specimens from the forest floor. Her back hurt, her legs were tired, and her eyes felt heavy. The purple sun of Valora Prime was setting behind the massive trees, casting long shadows across the ground. She should have gone back to the research station hours ago, but the head scientist had asked for 50 more samples, and Hana never said no to extra work. That was how she ended up on an alien planet after all. She worked hard, she followed rules, and she never complained. The Velkari didn't understand that about humans. To them, humans were weak. Soft skin, no claws, no sharp teeth, no thick scales. The Velkari looked like a mix between giant cats and reptiles. They stood 8 feet tall, had muscles that could bend steel, and eyes that could see in complete darkness. Their diplomatic messages to Earth had been clear. Humans were welcome on Valora Prime, but they should stay in safe zones. The forest was for predators, not prey. Hana had proved them wrong, though. 6 months on their planet, and she hadn't needed rescuing once. She was careful, paid attention, and respected the wildlife. The Velkari guards at the research station had stopped watching her so closely after the 3rd month. They still thought she was fragile, but at least they trusted her to not do anything stupid. A sound made her stop. It was high-pitched, almost like a bird chirping. But it wasn't coming from the trees. It was coming from the ground, somewhere to her left. Hana turned slowly, scanning the forest floor. The sound came again, more urgent this time. It sounded scared. She followed the noise to a small hill covered in thick roots. The ground there had collapsed, probably from the tremor that had shaken the area that morning. Hana got on her knees and peered into the hole. 3 pairs of large luminous eyes stared back at her. Cubs. Velkari cubs. They were small, about the size of wolf puppies, with soft gray fur and tiny scales along their backs. Their eyes were too big for their faces, and they were making that desperate chirping sound. One of them tried to climb out, but the dirt crumbled under its small paws and it fell back down with a frightened yelp. Hana's heart clenched. She didn't think. She just acted. She pulled off her backpack and took out her digging tools. The hole wasn't deep, maybe 4 feet, but the walls were unstable. She needed to be careful or the whole thing might collapse further. She dug slowly, widening the entrance. The cubs watched her with their huge eyes, chirping constantly. One of them, braver than the others, tried to climb up her arm when she reached down. Its tiny claws scratched her skin, drawing blood, but Hana didn't pull away. She lifted it gently and set it on solid ground. The cub immediately tried to run back to the hole, crying for its siblings. Hana had to grab it carefully and hold it against her chest while she reached for the second cub. This one was heavier and didn't want to be picked up. It hissed at her, showing tiny fangs. But when Hana wrapped her hands around its middle and lifted, it stopped struggling and just trembled. The third cub was the smallest. It wasn't chirping anymore. It just sat at the bottom of the hole, shivering. Hana had to lie flat on her stomach and reach down with both arms. Her ribs pressed against the edge of the hole, and dirt fell into her face, but she managed to grab the tiny creature. It was cold, too cold. She pulled all 3 cubs close to her body, trying to warm them up. The sun was almost gone now, and the temperature was dropping fast. Velkari nights were cold. She had read that in the research files. The planet's atmosphere didn't hold heat well after dark. Hana tapped her communicator. "Station, this is Hana. I found 3 Velkari cubs near Sector 7. They were trapped. I got them out, but it's getting dark. Can someone send a transport?" Static. Then a voice, crackling. "Repeat. Didn't copy. Storm interference. Back tomorrow." The communicator went dead. Hana shook it, but nothing happened. The magnetic storms that sometimes rolled across Valora Prime must have started. Those storms knocked out all communications for hours. She looked down at the cubs. They were huddled against her jacket, still shivering. The smallest one looked up at her with those huge eyes, and something in Hana's chest twisted. She couldn't just leave them here, but she also couldn't carry all 3 back to the station in the dark. The forest at night was dangerous even for Velkari. For a human carrying 3 cubs, it would be suicide. There was an emergency shelter nearby. She had passed it on her way here. Just a small dome with basic supplies. She could take the cubs there, keep them warm, and wait until morning. Someone would come looking for her when she didn't return to the station. Hana gathered the cubs carefully. 2 of them fit in her backpack, which she wore on her chest. The third one, the brave one, she held in her arms. It kept trying to lick her face with a tiny, rough tongue. The walk to the shelter took 20 minutes. By the time she got there, Hana could barely see. The purple sun was completely gone, and Valora Prime's 3 moons gave only dim light. She stumbled into the shelter and sealed the door behind her. The shelter was basic, a small room with a heating unit, some emergency rations, and a sleeping mat. Hana turned on the heater and set it to low. She didn't want to overheat the cubs. She sat down on the mat with the 3 small creatures and pulled them close. They were still cold. She could feel them shaking. Hana unzipped her jacket and tucked all 3 cubs inside against her shirt, their small bodies pressed against her stomach and chest. Slowly, they stopped shivering. The brave one started purring, a sound like a motor running. The other 2 joined in. Hana meant to stay awake. She really did. She was going to keep watch, make sure the cubs stayed warm, and wait for morning. But she had been awake for so long. Her body was exhausted. The warmth of the cubs against her skin, the gentle purring, the soft breathing. It all pulled her down into sleep. She didn't even realize it was happening. One moment she was thinking about what she would say to whoever came looking for her. The next moment, everything went dark and quiet. Outside the shelter, the temperature dropped below freezing. Inside, a human woman slept peacefully, 3 alien cubs curled against her like kittens. They were warm, they were safe. And somewhere in the forest, someone was searching desperately for them. Light touched Hana's face and she opened her eyes slowly. For a moment she didn't know where she was. Then she felt the weight on her chest and remembered. The cubs. She looked down and saw 3 small faces staring up at her. They were awake, alert, and purring softly. Then she heard breathing. Not from the cubs, from outside her jacket. Hana's head snapped up and her heart nearly stopped. The small shelter was surrounded. Through the transparent door panel she could see figures. Tall, powerful figures. Velkari. At least 20 of them, all wearing black armor with silver markings. The Royal Guard. She recognized the insignia from her briefings. These weren't regular soldiers. These were the elite warriors who protected the Velkari royal family, and they were all staring at her. What made her stomach drop wasn't the weapons they carried or the way they stood at attention. It was their faces. Every single one of them had moisture running down their scales. They were crying. Silent tears dripped from those large, luminous eyes. Hana slowly stood up, keeping the cubs tucked against her chest. She approached the door carefully and opened it. The cold morning air hit her face, but she barely noticed. She was too focused on the Velkari in front of her. The largest one stepped forward. He was massive, even for a Velkari, with dark blue scales and eyes like molten gold. His armor had more silver markings than the others, and he carried himself with absolute authority. When he spoke, his voice was deep, but it cracked slightly. "Human, you have our young." Hana nodded slowly. "I found them trapped. They were cold. I kept them warm." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. The big Velkari dropped to one knee. Every guard behind him did the same. Hana's eyes went wide. She had never seen a Velkari kneel, not even in the diplomatic videos she had studied. "I am Commander Taman," the big Velkari said. "These are my sons and daughter. We searched all night. We believed we would find them dead." Another Velkari stepped forward, this one with lighter scales and a scar across their snout. "I am Lieutenant G1, second of the guard. We did not understand. You are human. You are small, soft, but you kept the cubs alive through freezing night. How?" Hana looked down at the 3 small faces peeking out from her jacket. They were scared. "And cold, so I held them. That's all." A sound came from the guards. It took Hana a moment to recognize it. They were making a keening noise, high and mournful. It was grief mixed with relief, mixed with something she couldn't name. "You don't understand," Taman said, his voice thick. "Velkari cubs cannot make their own heat. They need parent warmth or they die. We searched through storm and dark. Knowing every moment was life-draining from them. We expected to find small bodies, frozen, gone. Jiwan moved closer slowly, like approaching something precious and fragile. No Velkari can sleep near cubs that are not their own. Our instincts are too strong. Even in sleep, the predator part of our mind remains active. We might harm them without meaning to. It is why orphaned cubs almost never survive. Hana's brain tried to process this information. But I'm not Velkari. I'm human. Yes, Taman said, and fresh tears rolled down his scales. You are human. You have no claws, no fangs, no armor. You are prey to us. And yet you did what no Velkari warrior could do. You slept beside vulnerable cubs and kept them safe through the darkest night. One of the cubs, the brave one, squirmed out of Hana's jacket and jumped down. It ran straight to Taman, chirping excitedly. The big warrior caught his son with shaking hands and held him close, pressing his face against the small body. The cub licked his father's face, purring loudly. The other two cubs followed, climbing down Hana's legs and running to their father. Taman gathered all three in his arms and his shoulders shook. He was crying openly now, not trying to hide it. Several of the guards turned away, wiping at their own eyes. Jiwan looked at Hana with something like wonder. In our culture, saving another's offspring creates life debt. The debt cannot be repaid. It binds families across time. You have given Commander Taman his reason for living. His cubs are his world. Hana felt uncomfortable with the intensity of emotion around her. I just helped some kids. Anyone would have done the same. No, Taman said firmly, standing up with all three cubs clinging to him. No one would have. No Velkari could have. You risked cold, risked dark, risked forest predators. And you did something more dangerous than all of that. He stepped closer to Hana, towering over her, but his expression was gentle. You trusted yourself to sleep near my cubs. You trusted your own instincts. You believed you would not harm them, even when unconscious. That trust, that peace. We do not have it. A younger guard, barely more than an adolescent, spoke up. My mother's mother tells stories of soft ones. Small beings who lived with us long ago. They could touch our cubs safely. We thought they were just stories. Jiwan silenced the young guard with a look, but Hana saw something pass between the older warriors. A glance, a shared knowledge. There was more to this story, but they weren't ready to tell her. Taman reached out slowly, giving Hana time to move away. When she didn't, he placed one large hand on top of her head. His claws were retracted and his touch was surprisingly gentle. Little guardian, that is what we will call you. You are small in body but large in courage. The royal guard is in your debt. I am in your debt. Ask anything of us and it shall be done. I don't want anything, Hana said, feeling overwhelmed. I'm just glad they're okay. This seemed to make the crying worse. Several guards made that keening sound again. Jiwan covered their face with one hand. Even the young guard had tears streaming down his scales. She doesn't want payment, Taman said to his warriors. She helped because help was needed. What kind of being does this? He looked at Hana with something like awe. What are you, human? What are your people? That you carry such gentleness in your hearts. Before Hana could answer, a new sound cut through the morning air. An engine. A transport vehicle came around the bend, bearing the markings of the human research station. It stopped abruptly when the driver saw the scene. The door opened and out stepped a middle-aged man in a diplomatic uniform. Ambassador Minho, Hana said with relief. Someone from Earth. Someone who might understand what was happening. Minho took in the scene with wide eyes. 20 royal guards all crying. Commander Taman kneeling. 3 cubs chirping happily. And Hana, small and dirty and confused, standing in the middle of it all. Hana, Minho said slowly. What exactly happened here? Before she could answer, Taman spoke. The human saved my cubs. She kept them alive through freezing night. She slept beside them, protected them, warmed them with her own body. Minho's face went pale. She did what? She performed miracle, Jiwan said. She did what we cannot do. She proved humans are not prey, not weak, they are something else. Something we do not have words for. Minho looked at Hana and she saw fear in his eyes. Not fear of the Velkari, fear of what this meant. We need to go, he said quietly. Right now. Hana, get in the transport, but Taman stepped between them. The Guardian is under protection of Royal Guard now. She goes nowhere without escort. This is not threat. This is promise. We will keep her safe as she kept our cubs safe. 2 guards moved to stand beside Hana. They didn't touch her, but their message was clear. She was under their protection now, whether the humans liked it or not. Minho's face showed a dozen emotions at once. Finally, he just nodded. Fine, but we need to talk, all of us. Because this is going to change everything. He was right, Hana thought. As she climbed into the transport with 2 Velkari guards following, she realized her simple act of kindness had set something in motion. Something big. She could see it in the way the guards looked at her, in the tears still drying on their scales, in the way Taman held his cubs like they were the most precious things in the universe. The transport started moving back toward the research station. Through the window, Hana watched the Royal Guard form up behind them, following in perfect formation. She had saved 3 small lives. Somehow she had a feeling that was going to save many more. The research station was in chaos. News of what happened had spread faster than Hana thought possible. By the time the transport arrived, every human at the station was waiting outside. Behind them, keeping a respectful distance, were dozens of Velkari civilians. They watched Hana with those huge, luminous eyes. Some of them were crying. Ambassador Minho pulled Hana aside the moment her feet touched the ground. The 2 royal guards followed closely, never more than 3 steps away. Minho glanced at them nervously, but didn't try to send them away. "Do you understand what you've done?" Minho asked in a low voice. "I saved some kids," Hana said, feeling defensive. "Was I supposed to leave them to freeze?" "No, of course not. But Hana, you've created a political situation. The Velkari High Council has already sent a message. They want to see you. In person. No human has ever been summoned before." Hana felt her stomach drop. "Is that bad?" "I don't know. That's what scares me." Minho ran a hand through his hair. "The Velkari don't show emotion easily. They certainly don't cry in front of outsiders. You made the Royal Guard weep. 20 of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy, and they cried like children. That's going to have consequences." One of the guards, a female with silver-streaked scales, spoke up. "The council summons the Guardian because they must see her with their own eyes. They must understand what she is." "And what is she?" Minho asked carefully. The guard looked at Hana with an expression that might have been wonder. "Safe. She is safe. We are not." Before Minho could respond, another vehicle arrived. This one was larger, more official, with the seal of the High Council on its side. The door opened, and a Velkari in elaborate robes stepped out. They were old, with scales that had faded to almost white, and moved with careful dignity. "I am Counselor Somin," the elderly Velkari announced. "I come to see the human who has caused such disturbance." Hana stepped forward. "I'm Hana. I didn't mean to cause any problems." Somin's eyes narrowed. "Did you not? You have made our warriors weep. You have proved our young safer with aliens than with their own kind. You have shown weakness where we pride ourselves on strength. These are not small things." "The Guardian showed no weakness," Jiwan said, appearing from somewhere behind the transport. "She showed courage. She protected cubs through darkness and cold. She asked for nothing in return. This is strength of a different kind, or manipulation," Somin said coldly. "Humans are clever. Perhaps she knew saving our young would gain favor. Perhaps this was calculated to make us lower our guard." Hana felt anger spark in her chest. "I didn't calculate anything. 3 babies were trapped and scared. I helped them. That's all." Somin studied her for a long moment. Finally, the old Velkari made a dismissive gesture. "The council will judge. You will come to the capital city tomorrow. You will explain yourself. You will prove you are not a threat to our people." The 2 guards beside Hana tensed. One of them, a young male with dark green scales, spoke up. "The Guardian is under protection of Commander Taman. She goes nowhere without escort." "Then escort her," Somin said sharply. "But she will come. This is not a request." After Somin left, Minho pulled Hana into a private room. The guards waited outside, though Hana had a feeling they could hear every word through the door. "Hana, listen to me carefully," Minho said. "Some of the council see humans as useful, but ultimately inferior. We're here because we have technology they want, knowledge they need. But we're not equals in their eyes, not really. I know that, Hana said quietly. What you did changes things. You proved humans can do something Velkari cannot. That makes some of them curious, but it makes others afraid. Somin is afraid of what it means if humans are not as weak as they believed. A knock on the door interrupted them. Security Chief Yejin entered without waiting for an answer. She was a stern woman in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back tight and eyes that missed nothing. Ambassador, we have a problem, Yejin said. Commander Taemin has assigned a guard to Hana, a permanent guard. He's standing outside her quarters right now and refuses to leave. Of course he did, Minho muttered. Can we refuse? We can try, Yejin said. But the Royal Guard doesn't take orders from us, and after what Hana did, they consider her under their protection. Refusing might cause an incident. Hana stood up. Can I see this guard? They walked to her quarters together. Sure enough, a young Velkari in Royal Guard armor stood beside her door. He was smaller than the others she had seen, probably not much older than a human teenager. But he stood at attention with perfect discipline, one hand on the weapon at his hip. I am Private Doyun, he said when Hana approached. Commander Taemin has assigned me to protect the Guardian. I will stay at your door, follow at respectful distance, and ensure no harm comes to you. I don't need a bodyguard, Hana said gently. Nevertheless, you have one. Commander's orders. I will not fail him. I will not fail you. There was something intense in his young eyes, a determination that reminded Hana of soldiers she had seen in documentaries, people who would die before breaking their word. Yejin stepped forward. Private, this isn't necessary. The human station has its own security. Doyun's tail swished once, a sign of agitation. Your security cannot stop Velkari threats, I can. The Guardian will face council tomorrow. There are those who do not want her to speak. I will ensure she arrives safely. Are you saying someone might hurt her? Minho asked sharply. I am saying the Guardian has made powerful warriors weep. She has made old counselors afraid. She has proved humans are not what we believed. These are dangerous revelations. Some will want her silenced before she speaks further truth. A chill ran down Hana's spine. She had thought the crying guards were the strangest part of her day. She hadn't considered that some Velkari might see her as a threat. Let him stay, Hana said quietly. If there's even a small chance someone wants to hurt me, I'd rather have protection. Yejin looked unhappy but nodded. Fine. But he follows our rules while on station property. I will follow all rules that do not interfere with the Guardian's safety, Doyun agreed. That night Hana couldn't sleep. She sat at her desk trying to research the High Council on her computer. There wasn't much information available. Fikomai, Velkari didn't share their political structures easily with outsiders. She found references to the Council's power, to ancient laws, to traditions that stretched back thousands of years. One file caught her attention. It was a translation of an old Velkari text, marked as partially decoded. She opened it and started reading. The language was archaic, full of words that had no English equivalent, but certain phrases jumped out at her. The soft ones who tend our young. Small hands that bring no harm. Those who left us to our wars. Soft ones. That's what the young guard had mentioned. Beings who had lived with Velkari long ago. Beings who could safely touch their cubs. Hana searched for more information but found almost nothing. Just fragments. References to a people who had lived alongside Velkari 10,000 years ago. Then nothing. They had simply vanished from the historical record. A knock on her door made her jump. She opened it to find Doyun still standing guard. Behind him was an elderly Velkari she didn't recognize. This one wore simple robes and carried a wooden staff. Guardian, the old Velkari said with a respectful bow. I am Scholar Jihun. I study ancient history. I heard what you did for Commander Taemin's cubs. I heard that you slept beside them safely. May I speak with you? Doyun looked between them, then stepped aside. The scholar is no threat. He may enter. Jihoon moved slowly, age making each step careful. He sat down at Hana's small table and gestured for her to join him. I have studied the soft ones for my entire life. Most Velkari think they are myth, stories we tell cubs to help them sleep, but I know they were real. What happened to them? Hana asked. They left. 10,000 years ago when our people fell into great wars. The soft ones had no warriors, no weapons. They were caregivers, teachers, tenders of the young. When war came, they could not fight. So they left. They took their ships and went somewhere else. The records do not say where. Jihoon leaned forward. I saw a video of you this morning. Small, soft skin, 5 fingers, gentle eyes. You look like the soft ones from ancient carvings. You act like them too, helping cubs without thought of reward, staying beside them through danger. Guardian, I believe humans are either the soft ones returned, or you are their cousins. You are the same kind of people. Hana's mind raced. If that's true, why don't humans remember? Why is there no record of Velkari in our history? 10,000 years is long time. Civilizations rise and fall. Perhaps your people forgot. Perhaps they chose to forget. Jihoon stood slowly. Tomorrow the council will question you. Some will be hostile. But know this. There are those of us who have waited long time for the soft ones to return. We need what you have. We need what we lost when you left. After he departed, Hana sat in the dark, thinking. Outside her door, she could hear Doyun's steady breathing. He would stand guard all night, protecting her from threats she couldn't even imagine. Inside her chest, her heart beat with sudden understanding. She wasn't just some scientist who had helped 3 lost cubs. She was part of something much older, much bigger, and tomorrow, she would have to face it. The council chamber was enormous. High ceilings carved from stone, walls decorated with scenes of ancient battles, and a curved table where 7 elderly Velkari sat in judgment. Behind them, massive windows showed the capital city stretching out below, all spires and bridges and flowing water. Hana stood in the center of the room, feeling very small. Ambassador Minho stood to her right, looking nervous in his formal diplomatic uniform. To her left stood Commander Taemin, with Lieutenant Jiwon and Private Doyen flanking them. The Royal Guard had insisted on accompanying her, and the council had allowed it after much argument. Councillor Soman sat at the center of the table, age and authority clear in every movement. The other 6 councillors watched Hana with expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion to something that might have been hope. Human called Hana. Soman began. You stand before the High Council to explain your actions. You saved 3 cubs of the Royal Guard. This act has created significant discussion among our people. Speak. Tell us why you did this. Hana took a breath. I heard them crying. They were trapped and scared. I got them out and kept them warm until morning. I didn't think about it. I just did what needed to be done. A younger counselor, one with bright red scales, leaned forward. You did not think? You acted on instinct alone? Yes. And your instinct told you to protect young that were not your own? Young of a different species? Yes. The red-scaled counselor looked at the others. Remarkable. We suppress such instincts with training, yet this human acts on them without thought. It proves nothing, Soman said sharply. One act of kindness could be calculated. She is scientist. She studies us. Perhaps she knew this would gain our favor. With respect, counselor, Hana said carefully. I was exhausted, alone in the dark, and had no communication. I wasn't thinking about favor or politics. I was thinking about 3 cold, scared children. Taemin stepped forward. If I may speak, counsel, I have observed the Guardian. She calls my cubs children, not young Velkari or offspring, children, as if they are her own kind. She does not separate species in her heart. This is not calculation. This is nature. Commander, you are biased, Soman said. These are your cubs she saved. Of course you defend her. I defend truth, Taemin replied, voice firm. My cubs were dying. The Guardian saved them. She asked nothing. She wanted nothing. When we offered her life debt, she refused. What kind of manipulation ends with refusing payment? Another counselor, this one elderly with scales gone almost transparent with age, spoke up in a wavering voice. The soft ones also refused payment. The ancient texts say they helped because help was needed. Nothing more? Someone's head snapped toward the old counselor. We are not discussing myths today. But perhaps we should, Hana said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Last night, Scholar Jehun visited me. He told me about the soft ones. Small beings who could safely tend Velkari cubs. Beings who left 10,000 years ago. Hana pulled out her tablet and held it up. I found references to them in the historical archives. Not many, but enough. They were described as having soft skin, 5 fingers, gentle nature. They were caregivers and teachers. They left when the Great Wars started because they had no way to fight. She looked directly at Soman. Scholar Jehun believes humans might be the soft ones, or descended from them. That's why I could sleep beside the cubs safely. That's why my instinct was to protect, not harm. It's not manipulation. It's biology. It's who we are. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Several counselors spoke at once, their voices rising. Soman demanded silence with a sharp gesture. This is speculation, Soman said. Ancient stories and convenient coincidence. Even if the soft ones were real, even if humans are related to them, what does it matter? The past is past. It matters because we are broken without them, said the elderly counselor with transparent scales. I am eldest here. I remember my grandmother's stories. She remembered her grandmother's stories. Back and back, to the time before the soft ones left. We were different then. Gentler. We could build without destroying. After they left, we fell into war. Civil war that lasted 1,000 years. We nearly destroyed ourselves. The red-scaled counselor nodded slowly. The history texts confirm this. The Age of Wars began shortly after the soft ones vanished. We attributed it to territorial disputes, resource conflicts. But perhaps the true cause was simpler. We lost our caregivers. We lost those who could tend our young, teach our children, show us how to be gentle. We learned to be strong instead, Soman said. We became warriors, survivors. We do not need soft creatures to show us how to live. Then why do our young still die? Taman asked quietly. Why can we not sleep beside our own cubs? Why do we train from birth to suppress our instincts? We are strong, yes, but we have lost something vital. The Guardian showed us what we lost. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the building. Red lights flashed. Doyen immediately moved to shield Hana with his body, while Ji-won drew their weapon. The council members stood, looking alarmed. A guard burst into the chamber. War Master Daehyun has entered the city with loyal forces. He demands the human be released to his custody for questioning. Daehyun, Minho whispered. Who is that? Military leader, Ji-won answered grimly. He believes humans are weakness. He has opposed diplomatic exchange from the beginning. The doors to the council chamber crashed open. A massive Velkari in battle armor strode in, followed by a dozen armed warriors. This was Daehyun, and he looked like war-made flesh. Scarred scales, cold eyes, weapons bristling from his armor. Council, Daehyun said, voice hard. I claim right of challenge. This human has corrupted our warriors, made them soft. I will take her into custody and prove she is no threat, merely clever prey. You have no authority here, Soman said sharply. The council has not concluded. The council wastes time. While you debate, this creature poisons our people with gentleness. Our warriors cry. Our citizens speak of her with reverence. This is not strength. This is infection. Taman moved to stand between Daehyun and Hana. You will not touch her. You prove my point, Commander. You defend Alien over your own people. She has made you weak. She saved my cubs. That is not weakness. It is if it blinds you to danger. Daehyun gestured to his warriors. Take the human. We will see if she is truly what she appears to be. The warriors moved forward. Taman's guards blocked them. For a moment, violence seemed inevitable. Then Hana stepped out from behind Doyen. Wait, she said. War Master Daehyun, you think I'm dangerous because I made warriors cry. You think gentleness is weakness. Let me prove you wrong. Hana, no, Minho said urgently, but she ignored him. You want to test me? Fine, test me. But not with violence. Test me the way I would test you. Let me help someone. Daehyun's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? Give me one of your wounded warriors. Someone injured in battle. Let me tend them. If I harm them, if I show any sign of danger, you can take me into custody. But if I help them, you have to admit that gentleness isn't weakness. For a long moment, Daehyun stared at her. Then he laughed, a harsh sound. You think you can tend Velkari wounds? You are tiny, soft. You will fail. Maybe, but I'm willing to try. Are you willing to let me? Daehyun considered this. Finally, he nodded. I have warrior injured in skirmish this morning. Clawed across the chest, poison in the wound. Our medics cannot reach the poison without causing more damage. Their hands are too large, their claws too sharp. The warrior will likely die. Take me to them, Hana said immediately. The council chamber emptied as everyone moved to the medical wing. Daehyun led them to a room where a Velkari lay on a bed, scales gray with pain. The wound across their chest was terrible, raw and weeping. The warrior's breathing came in shallow gasps. Hana approached slowly. May I help you? The wounded warrior looked at her with fading eyes. You are the guardian, the one who saved cubs. I'm Hana. I'm a xenobiologist. I've studied Velkari physiology. Let me try to help. She washed her hands thoroughly, then examined the wound. The poison had settled deep in the tissue. Velkari medics had tried to extract it, but their instruments were too large, their touch too rough. Hana's hands, small and precise, could reach where theirs could not. She worked for 2 hours. Her fingers carefully extracted poison sacs, cleaned infected tissue, applied medicine. She talked softly the whole time, explaining what she was doing, asking if the warrior was in pain. Around her, Velkari watched in silence. Taemin Jiwon Doyun, the council, Taehyun and his soldiers. Only Hana sat back. I've done what I can. The poison is out. The wound will heal now, but it will take time. Keep it clean and change the bandages twice a day. The wounded warrior reached out with one shaking hand and touched Hana's face gently. Thank you, small one. You have given me back my life. Hana smiled tiredly. Then she stood and faced Daehyun. I helped your warrior. Not because I wanted something. Not because I'm trying to manipulate anyone. But because someone needed help and I could give it. That's what humans do. We help, we care, we protect. If that's weakness to you, then I guess I'm weak. Daehyun stared at her for a long time. Then slowly he knelt. His warriors looked shocked, but they followed their leader and knelt too. I was in ways I do not understand. Ways we have forgotten. He looked up at the council. Humans are the soft on. The council met again 3 days later. This time the chamber was packed. Not just the 7 counselors, but dozens of other Velkari. Military leaders, scholars, civilian representatives. They lined the walls, filled the balconies, watched through screens broadcast across the planet. Hana stood in the center again, but she felt different now. Less scared, more certain. Beside her stood Ambassador Minho, Commander Taemin, Scholar Jihoon, and surprisingly War Master Daehyun. They had become unlikely allies over the past 3 days. Counselor Somin called the session to order. The old Velkari looked tired, as if they had not slept well. We have reviewed the evidence. We have consulted the ancient texts. We have witnessed the humans' actions with our own eyes. Somin paused. Scholar Jihoon, present your findings. The elderly scholar stepped forward, leaning on his staff. I have studied every text, every carving, every fragment of history from the time of the soft ones. The evidence is clear. Humans match the soft ones in every detail. Physical appearance, behavioral patterns, instinctive responses. They are either the same species or very close relatives. He pulled up holographic images showing ancient Velkari art. Small figures with smooth skin and gentle faces, surrounded by Velkari cubs. The soft ones were our companions for thousands of years. They tended our young while we hunted. They taught our children while we fought. They kept peace while we made war. When the wars grew too terrible, they left. They took their ships and went away, and we descended into 1,000 years of darkness. Another counselor, the one with red scales, spoke up. Our historians have confirmed that Velkari society collapsed shortly after the soft ones departed. We fought each other. We destroyed our own cities. We nearly went extinct. It took us hundreds of years to rebuild, and we were different after. Harder, colder. We had to be, Daehyun said gruffly. Without caregivers for our young, only the strongest cubs survived. Only the most aggressive parents succeeded. Over generations, we bred gentleness out of ourselves. We became what we needed to be to survive. But at what cost? Taemin asked quietly. We cannot sleep near our own cubs. We cannot comfort them without fear of instinct overtaking us. We train our children to be warriors before they are taught to be people. The Guardian showed us what we lost. She showed us we could be different. Somin held up a hand for silence. The question before us is not about history. It is about the future. If humans are the soft ones returned, what do we do? We are not the Velkari of 10,000 years ago. We are warriors now. We do not need caregivers, don't we? Scholar Jihoon asked. Counselor Soman, how many cubs died last year from cold? From lack of care? From accidents that could have been prevented? How many parents live in fear of harming their own children? How many of us are lonely because we cannot trust ourselves to be gentle? Silence fell over the chamber. It was heavy, full of unspoken pain. Finally, the elderly counselor with transparent scales spoke. I am eldest here. I remember what we were. Before the wars, before we became hard. We were not weak then. We were complete. The soft ones were part of us, and we were part of them. Together, we were whole. Apart, we are broken. The counselor stood slowly. I propose formal alliance. Not diplomatic exchange, not temporary cooperation. True alliance. Humans and Velkari living together as our ancestors did. Humans would serve as caregivers, teachers, mediators. They would help us remember how to be gentle. In return, we would protect them, share our world with them, treat them as equals. Equals, someone asked sharply. They have no claws, no fangs. They cannot fight as we fight. But they can do what we cannot, Taman said. They can sleep beside our cubs. They can tend our wounded. They can teach our children that strength is not just physical. That is worth more than claws or fangs. Ambassador Minho stepped forward. Council, I speak for Earth. We would need time to consider such an offer. This would change human society as well as Velkari, moving hundreds or thousands of humans to Valora Prime, integrating our species, learning to live together. It is not a simple thing. Nothing worthwhile is simple, Jihoon said. But consider this. Humans have been searching space for decades, looking for purpose, for meaning, for a place where they belong. Perhaps you came here not by accident. Perhaps you came home. Minho looked at Hana. She met his eyes and nodded slowly. He turned back to the council. Give us time. Let us send reports to Earth, discuss with our leaders. But speaking personally, I believe this could work. I believe it should work. There is one more matter, someone said. If we agree to this alliance, someone must lead it. Someone must be the bridge between our peoples. There is only one choice. The old Velkari looked directly at Hana. Human called Hana, we offer you the title of First Guardian. You would be responsible for bringing humans to Valora Prime, teaching them our ways, helping us remember the old paths. You would have authority equal to council members. You would speak for both humans and Velkari. Hana's mind raced. A few days ago, she had been a simple xenobiologist. Now they wanted her to lead an entire integration program. I'm not a leader, she said. I'm a scientist. I study plants, so you saved my cubs, Taman said gently. You healed wounded warrior. You stood before the council and spoke truth. You made War Master Daehyun kneel. If that is not leadership, I do not know what is. Besides, Daehyun added with something that might have been a smile. You have the Royal Guard's protection. Any who oppose you will have to go through us. I suspect that will discourage most problems. Hana looked around the chamber. All those eyes watching her. Velkari and humans both waiting for her answer. She thought about the 3 small cubs warm against her chest. About the wounded warrior touching her face with gratitude. About Scholar Jihoon's hope that the soft ones had returned. I have conditions, Hana said finally. If I do this, humans must be treated as equals. Not servants, not pets, not tools. Partners. We make decisions together. We live together. We build a new society together. Agreed, said the elderly counselor immediately. Several others nodded. And any human who comes here must come voluntarily. No forcing, no pressure. They need to understand what they're signing up for. Of course, Minho said. And I get to set up the training programs. I choose who comes first, how we integrate, what rules we follow. Somin looked unhappy but nodded. If you are First Guardian, you have that authority. Hana took a deep breath. Then I accept. I'll be your guardian. I'll help humans and Velkari learn to live together again. But I'm going to need a lot of help. You will have it, Taman promised. The Royal Guard stands with you. The military will provide security and resources, Daehyun added. Scholars will provide knowledge, Jihoon said with a warm smile. And the council will provide authority and structure. Even Soman admitted grudgingly. The formal vote was unanimous. Hana, xenobiologist from Earth, became the first guardian of Valora Prime. The chamber erupted in sound. Velkari made that keening cry again, but this time it was joy, not grief. Humans in the audience cheered. Somewhere in the back, someone started a chant. Guardian! Guardian! 6 months later, Hana sat in a garden specifically designed for human-Velkari interaction. The plants were from both worlds, carefully selected to be safe for both species. Around her, 20 Velkari cubs played under the watchful eyes of their parents. And scattered among the cubs were 5 humans, the first volunteers who had come to Valora Prime. One of the humans, a young teacher named Yunji, was showing a cub how to draw. The cub's claws made holding the pencil difficult, but Unji was patient, guiding the small hands with gentle encouragement. Nearby, another human named Minsu was reading a story to a group of cubs curled up around him. Their parents watched from a distance, scales reflecting their amazement. Taemin's 3 cubs, now bigger but still playful, were climbing on Hana. The brave one was trying to braid her hair while the other 2 argued about whose turn it was to sit in her lap. Hana laughed and tried to referee, though she wasn't very successful. They love you, Taemin said, sitting down beside her. The big warrior looked relaxed, more peaceful than Hana had ever seen him. You know that, yes? They love you as they love me. I love them too, Hana said simply. How could I not? Jiwon approached with Private Doyen following. Doyen was still Hana's guard, though his duties had expanded to training other guards in human Velkari cooperation protocols. Guardian, the next group of volunteers arrives next week. 23 humans, all with training in childcare, education, or medicine. Good. We'll need housing prepared, orientation materials translated, and buddy systems set up. Hana had learned to speak with authority over the past months. It still felt strange, but she was getting used to it. Already done, Jiwon said. Commander Taemin has been very thorough. Of course he has, Hana said fondly, smiling at the big warrior. Daehyun arrived, which still surprised people. The War Master had admitted out loud, Guardian, I have reports from the frontier colonies. 3 have requested human caregivers. They have many cubs and few adults trained to care for them properly. Tell them we'll send teams as soon as we have enough volunteers trained. It's going to take time. Time we have, Daehyun said. For 10,000 years we survived without the soft ones. We can wait a few more months to have them back properly. Scholar Jihoon shuffled over,